Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McLemore.
All right, good evening and welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring entrepreneurs and women to own businesses from across the country. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore, CEO and founder of the Women's Small Business Initiative, LLC, and award-winning author. And welcome to another night of sharing. With us, we have Adriana Alvarez. Adriana Monique Alvarez is the CEO and founder of AMA Publishing, where she teaches women how to start highly profitable publishing companies. She's an international best-selling author and has been seen in Forbes, Huffington Post, International Living, Addicted to Success, Relevant Journal, Fox, ABC, and NBC. She's the author of How to Start a Six-Figure Publishing Company, which is available to buy on Amazon. She is a USA Today bestselling author, and her most recent book, The Younger Self Letters, debuted at #1 on bestseller lists internationally. She mentors high-level coaches, consultants, and service providers on how to start their own high-earning global impact publishing houses. She is currently living in the middle of nowhere, Colorado, where she is renovating her grandparents' home and learning how to homestead with her husband, Derek, and 2 sons, Sam and Grant. So without further ado, please help me welcome to my platform, Miss Adriana Alvarez. Hey, Adriana, how are you?
I'm wonderful. And yourself?
I am doing great. I just love your profile. Now, we'll have to get to the Colorado thing. I hope that you're still stuck out there in the middle of nowhere. I was like,
I am.
Okay. All right, because that's interesting. Well, it's funny that we're having this conversation because I just left Colorado Springs not too long ago, literally. And so I'm like, oh, wow, I wonder if I ran into Adriana anyway in Colorado when I was there for a month.
That's hilarious.
Oh, my goodness. But anyway, well, again, welcome to the platform. I'm excited to have you on, Adriana. So as we get started, please tell my listeners just a little bit more about who Adriana Monique Alvarez really is.
What a good question. Well, who I really am is a mama and a wife, someone who loves food probably more than anything. And I love doing life with my family. So my husband and I, we've worked every single day together for 12 years. Oh, wow. We have our kids at home. We homeschool them. Whatever it is we're doing, we all do it together. And that's the way I like it.
Wow. Well, I will have to say you are very unique, Adriana, because I have not heard too many people say, I love working with my husband for 12 years every single day. I mean, it's
Most
great.
People are like, what?
Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute now. It's usually the opposite. I need to get away. But this is awesome. So clearly the pandemic did nothing for you, right? It was like, nah, no big deal. I'm used to being around him and everybody else every day. So that is a great thing on your end. So, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I actually feel like everyone gets to live like we have for 12 years. They're now getting a taste of it.
Right. And I'm sure you had some great advice that you can definitely share with everybody now, because even though we are moving forward, there are still some people, still grappling with all of this and trying to figure out how to get their lives in order. And even though they had a lot of time, it's amazing how quickly, we're here at almost 2 years and we're still fighting this battle of trying to get back to what we consider the norm, right? So, I just think it's amazing how everybody's stories have been extremely different and how people have either gravitated to this and have definitely moved forward, or either they have moved completely backwards. So talk to the listeners a little bit about your journey from 2020 up to now, and then we're going to dive into your amazing publishing company.
Well, the main thing that changed for us since 2020 was we had traveled full time around the world with our kids. So not long after they were born, we moved to Mexico and then to Europe, and we did Mediterranean and Eastern Europe and then back to Mexico. And so it was actually during that first few months of 2020 that we decided to look at what we wanted most. And I've been traveling since I graduated high school. I was a volunteer in my 20s. And so I said, with everything as it stands, unsure of how long this would be drug out, I said, let's go back to where I'm from. Let's go back to that middle of nowhere, Colorado. My boys can be close to their grandparents. They can be close to their cousins. And let's just see how that adventure unfolds. And so that's what we did. We drove 4 days out of Mexico. We were down in the Yucatan, and we arrived at my grandparents' house. During the conversations, my dad said, well, why don't you stay at grandma's house until you figure out what you want to do? And what we figured out we wanted to do was renovate grandma's house and bring the property back to life and plant 19 trees, over 600 plants and flowers, grow 60 superfoods, and really sink our hearts and souls into the land that I come from. And my family's been here for 5 generations on both sides. And so that has been the biggest change for us, is going, you know what, this is where we're going to be, and we're going to have that really rich, intentional life. And our main goal is to be completely self-sustainable. We have the ability to grow enough food for our entire extended family, to be off-grid, and to do our thing no matter what's going on around us. Wow.
That is incredible. And it's, hearing you have this conversation with me, it just that helps me think about some of the other conversations I just had recently with another individual I had interviewed, where we talk a lot about the fact how people just aren't prepared. You guys are above and beyond prepared. It's like, wow.
Oh, we're prepared.
I mean, and a lot of times we don't sit back and really think about what can come, because we're just so used to that consistent conformity of, well, this is our daily lives. You get up, you go to work, you do this, you do that. Everything is still the same, and never would have thought of that. Oh my goodness, a pandemic hits us, and now we literally have to rethink everything, because at one point we all were stuck. We literally couldn't go anywhere. So when I hear somebody who has decided to say, no, we're going to rethink this, and this is how we're going to live our lives, and even though you guys were used to being together all the time, the thought process of knowing that I can live on my own property and know that we are going to be okay, that is amazing, and it's beautiful. And this is a conversation that people need to have every single day, about preparing for the unknown. And it's not just about the finances, it's everything. So you as a whole,
it's true.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of times we get pushed and forced into it, but you guys already had started taking the steps that most people, I'm laughing about. We were talking about it earlier about the fact that, hey, you're with your family all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you guys have brought it together in a way that people would always look at it negatively, but you have definitely done it in a very positive way. So with that thought process of how you do your personal life, you have obviously have taken some of your professional and have brought that in personally, and you show other people how to become profitable in a different format. And I want to know exactly how this works for your publishing company, because I'm listening to you talk and I'm thinking, wow, some of this has to rub off somewhere. So definitely looking to hear this portion.
Oh yeah, it's true. And what I would say is the most influential thing of my entire life was when I spent my 20s overseas as a volunteer, and I was in Myanmar, I was in Albania, I was in Kenya, and I was thousands of miles away from home. I never went through the college higher education system. I never worked in corporate. I never got caught in the American dream or the rat race.
Wow.
And what I had as my greatest teachers were cultures that valued more, something more than money. They valued family. They valued meals. They valued high quality life. And it's easy as Americans to look at them and think, oh, we are so much more advanced, or we have so much more. But sometimes it takes stepping out of our culture to realize what really matters. And that's what has always informed us, the way we operate in our business. It's not just what will earn the next buck, what will get the next client, what will move the business forward in terms of how most people define success. For us, we started a business because we wanted a good life. And if the business isn't giving us a good life, then it's not successful, no matter how it looks on the outside. And that has been the benchmark. And so when we arrange our days and our schedules,
it can get lonely climbing Mount McKinley, so to entertain myself, I go to ChumbaCasino.com. At Chumba Casino, I can play hundreds of online casino-style games for free, like online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Plus, I get a daily login bonus. It's just too bad that up here, I don't have anyone to share my excitement with. Woohoo!
Live the Chumba life. Anytime, anywhere. Play for free now at ChumbaCasino.com. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody. Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
it has to be a good life. We have to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. We have to make sure that there's fun and play in there. I take every Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and sometimes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. And this allows us to keep what matters most in front of us. And it just flows out with what I teach my clients as well, because I'm unwilling to trade good health or happiness or family or marriage or my own peace of mind for what we call success. Then I can pass it on to my clients and say, make sure you arrange your business in a way that gives you a good life, that gives you a good relationship with your children, that keeps your health in the most ideal place. And this is how I like to approach it, because otherwise we are at some level selling our soul.
Right.
And, you know, there's a huge trade-off that we're going to regret at some point, right? We're going to reach an age where we have enough perspective to go, you know what, I wish I wouldn't have done that. And so I like to approach business and say, you know what, business is not the reason I'm here. It doesn't define me, and it is not my purpose. It is a vehicle, and it is one way in which I get to pass something that I've learned on to others, but it is simply a tool and a vehicle.
I like that. I love everything you just said. I was sitting there like, oh my goodness. It's like, where has she been all my life? So it's like, I mean, to hear you say what you're saying, because we are so, you know, our society is always about get an education, go get a great job, you know, work 1 million hours, you know, so you can get to that top level and, you know, so you can live your best life, and not understanding that if that's all you have to live for, you are ruining who you are. And you're right. You're literally selling your soul to get to that next level. And, you know, I think for the first time in many years, we've heard over and over here a lot more recently that people have this awakening of, you know what, I'm tired of selling my soul. I want to have a normal life, because having the opportunity of being able to be at home in your environment and having those family times and doing the things you've been wanting to do for 10 years, but you haven't because you've been on that roller coaster ride and that hamster wheel, constantly pushing to get to that next level, because you're constantly being told, well, you're only important unless you're here. You know, you're only important if you're there. And to hear you, you know, you literally just made my day, because you're literally telling the truth and about the reality of what it means about what does business really mean to you? Is it really just about a passion, or is it really that vehicle? You know, and it's no different to me when I think about just working every day. It's a responsibility. It's a thing we have to do. You know, if you're going to live a certain way, you have bills you have to pay. These are things, this is the vehicle you have to have in order to make that happen. So you said it so profoundly, and I'm just like, wow, I need to hear you more often. I can sit here and listen to you talk all day, because you just basic common sense that a lot of times we have had to be able to push to the side, because we're just always being pushed to, you know, to do things at a different level, because that's what society tells you, that you're not really any good unless you're A, B, C, or D. So when you have these individuals that you are trying to push them to a higher level, but doing it in the manner that you're talking about, what do you have for those naysayers who are saying, no, this isn't reality, you know, what you're doing, or, you know, how can you tell somebody that? And, you know, especially when we have so many people who are pushed into education, and then they're stuck with all these bills, they're still not making it any further than they were. How do you deal with this overall perspective?
You know, truthfully, I don't tend to rub shoulders with this type of person, but I would say this is that each of us at some point is going to have an opportunity to take inventory of our lives. And if we're willing to be honest, we can make changes. And just because we've been highly invested in a particular way of thinking or being doesn't mean that we can't at some point, at any point, say, you know what? It brought me to this point, but I think I'm done with it. I'm done with it now. I'm going to take a different approach. And so if we get to our life, whether, you know, I like to say there's 4 big D's that speak to us. There's death, there is debt, there's diagnosis, and there's divorce. Most people will be hit with a big D, and it will give us an opportunity to look ourselves in the mirror and say, is this really what I had in mind? And if it's not, guess what? We can make a change at any time. And if it's not working, then what do you have to lose? You know,
right?
It might seem crazy because it's not what we've been fed our whole lives, like literally since kindergarten. However, why not? You know, if it's not feeling good, what do we have to lose?
Exactly. And I think, you know, a lot of people had that opportunity to say, you know, this feels so much better, you know, to have that lifestyle of I'm home, I can do all the things I need to do. I don't feel like I'm rushing, you know, up and down the highway to get from point A to point B. And then you look up, your whole night is done and you're frustrated. You know, you're right. It's taking that opportunity to say, really, what can we live with and what can we live without? And I think that's the biggest part of it is that we're just so used to, you got to have more. You got to have just that little bit more. You know, you're being told, well, I can take $5 a turn into 50 million overnight, you know, that type of attitude, because there's so many things that people want that instant kind of gratification versus realizing that, is this really the life that you want? And how long are you going to be able to handle that lifestyle without going over the edge? Or either you're that individual who is working yourself to death to the point where when it's time to retire, you really don't have time to enjoy it because you're too tired.
That's just it. Yeah, you've fried yourself. And for me, this is one of the things that I was able to observe, because we can't see our own culture or our own ways of being until we've stepped outside of it. And what I realized is that most people live on autopilot every single day of their lives. It is Groundhog Day. It is autopilot. And most of us don't realize that we're asleep. We're asleep at the wheel of our own life. And thankfully, there are things in life that initially they might seem like they are a negative thing, but really it's the wake-up call to go, hey, listen, wake up and be present, because we can never access our best selves, our true genius, all of our gifts, any higher levels of consciousness, if we are just going and running non-stop. It's not going to happen.
That's right. You're absolutely
right. It's all there.
Yeah, and it's proven. It has literally been proven, that you cannot go on all fours constantly. And, you're going to definitely hit that wall. You're going to break down. If people are overly depressed, I mean, there's always something going on because you're doing something that in reality really should not be the norm for you. But until you can open your mindset up and realize that this is not the life you want to live, and what is that life? How do you get people to truly open up to themselves? I think is, and especially when you're dealing with individuals who are on that high level, these coaches, these consultants, how do you kind of get that mindset to change?
Well, one of the things I found is if somebody is willing just to taste it, they'll get hooked. And one of the things I invite my clients to do is to take an entire day off. Turn off the phone, turn off the screens, turn off the email, turn off the social media, stop taking care of everybody, and just take a day off and go have some fun. When's the last time you laughed? You were silly, you were light, you enjoyed yourself. And even better if you can throw nature in there, because once you get in nature for an entire day, you begin to feel different. You begin to feel this contrast. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, that felt amazing. That was so nice. Why don't I do this more often? And so sometimes it just takes that start, just give it a shot. Do it for one day. And then can you do that once a week? And then can that be something you incorporate for a certain amount of time every single day? And before you know it, you've moved that piano 1 inch at a time until now you're so used to living a good life, you couldn't go back. And that's really what it is. It's just allowing ourselves to feel how good it could be.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It's just that initial taking that step forward, just like you do anything else, right? When you made the decision that you want to be in business, or you made the decision that you wanted this amazing job, you took that step forward. Whether there was fear there or not, you made that decision. But now it's like, okay, how do I reanalyze this? And you're right. It's just sitting down and saying to myself, I just need one day. And then after that one day, that can kind of be that decision maker for you to say, I'm going to move forward with this a little at a time, because we obviously know nothing changes in the background when it comes to your responsibilities, whether it's professional or personal. You still have those responsibilities in front of you, and you have to know how to balance that and change that to where it's working for you the right way. The other thing I want to talk about, though, is I love the title of your book, The Younger Self Letters. And I'm sitting here thinking that, with your sons, how you are showing them.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody. Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm, Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
the way of life that it should be and could be. So can you talk a little bit about the book, and then talk about how this affects and reflects upon your kids, and what did they see and feel?
Such a good question. Well, the younger self letters, I woke up early this year and I just knew I wanted to create a different kind of book. I wanted to produce, number one, a book that would become a USA Today bestseller for the people who wanted to hit bigger lists. But I didn't want to just have stories of successful entrepreneurs who wanted to share, once again, everything that they know and all of their accomplishments. Because for me, especially given the climate in the world, honestly, nobody's that interested in hearing it, right? It's not hitting us the way it used to.
Right.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Another know-it-all book, right? And
exactly.
That's just the truth, right?
Right.
I thought, what if I could find really successful entrepreneurs who obviously had found their way, but also had a great big heart and who were open to a different kind of writing experience. And so I brought them together, and I'll never forget it. I gave them the writing instructions, and I said, you're going to pick an H, a moment of your life, and you're going to write your entire chapter to yourself at that age.
Wow.
And they were like, do I write first person or third person? No, you're going to write to yourself. You're not writing to the reader. You're writing to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a heart-opening experience, and people were transformed by that experience of writing to themselves. So much love and compassion, and also this ability to see how far they'd come, not in terms of society's checklist for success, but in terms of their own growth, seeing how much they had overcome, how resilient they had been, how they had evolved and found their way to everything that really lights up their soul. And so what I found is that even though people were writing to themselves, the readers were so engaged. The reviews that we got and the feedback we got, it was incredible. People were like, oh, I could see myself. Mm-hmm. And it took them to deep places. And so for me, this is what I've learned, is that we're actually made for the deep waters. And yet most of us spend a great portion of our life living on the surface. And so what I want for my boys is that they understand that they were built for the deep waters, that they can go beyond superficial conversations, they can go beyond superficial goals, and that they can go to the heart of the matter, and that they always know how to come back to their own heart and check in and say, does this feel good to me? It doesn't matter who's pushing it, who's preaching it, who thinks it's the right path for them, but they can come back to themselves and say, you know what, does this make me happy? Is this who I really am at my core? And is this the kind of life I want to live? And that, you said it exactly. I am not here to give my kids an education. I am not here to hope that they go to college and have a good career. I am here to show them what a good life looks like. And I know that if I plant those seeds now,
right,
they will never forget it. This is part of who they are.
Exactly. And really, you're hitting that head on the nail there, because we're actually looking at a whole different new society and the new generation who are saying, you know what, I'm not doing this. I'm not sitting in a classroom for 4 years, 2 years, whatever the case may be. And then, of course, I also have to, have all this money I got to owe back, and I'm not seeing myself move forward. People today, these generations today, are having a whole thought process of, I need to do this for myself. I want to be creative. I don't want somebody to tell me I got to sit in my desk for 8 hours in order to gain a paycheck, and so what you're doing to me is absolutely the right way. You can obviously still give them that option, but at least they know that they can be their unique selves.
Yes. And there's something that is an unspoken truth, belief that is perpetuated in our culture, and I am seeking to break it. And it's this idea that the answers are outside of us, that somebody else knows better than me. And I do this with my kids, I do this with my clients, I do it for myself, is no, you're actually the authority of your life. No one knows better for you than you. The answers are not outside of you. The answers are within you. And if you're willing to get quiet and still enough, you will discover them. And everything that you could possibly need, whether it's your next step or an idea or what you want to do with your life or what your gifts are, they're all locked inside of us, right? Mm-hmm. And it is our duty, it is our joy, it is our responsibility to, at some point, unlock all of that greatness that's within us. But it only happens when we remember it's not outside of me. No one else has the key. I hold that.
That's right. You're absolutely right. And it's taking that time to figure that out. But like you said, if you don't sit still long enough, you're not going to know, because you're so busy listening to what's in the left ear, what's in the right ear, everybody around you telling you how you should be doing this and how you should be doing that. And it's funny that we're talking about this, because I think I even one day wrote a post just because you kind of get that frustration of how many other people are going to constantly tell me what I need to be doing. But yet still, they don't know that journey. All of our journeys are personal. And until you can understand what that personal journey is, you're never going to hear it, because all that sound around you is blocking it out. So you're 199.9% correct. I mean, it's just such a joy to be able to communicate and have a real conversation, an understanding about what our true self really is. And, you're putting it out there. And I'm hoping that these listeners are really going to truly get that understanding that, it's great to be a success, but how do you define that? Who do you see yourself as, if you want to consider yourself a success? What does that really mean to you, versus it just being about the dollar? Because a lot of times people, they're chasing that money, but they don't understand what their purpose is. They really don't know what they're doing. It's just, hey, I got an idea, I want to do a business. But they haven't really sunken in deep enough to understand that it's a much more than just about the dollar figure.
So much more.
Yeah, well,
you're right.
You are definitely living proof for that. So I just love it. Like I said, it's just great to have these type of conversations. But I do want to ask you a little more though about your company. You are the CEO and founder of AMA Publishing. So talk a little bit about your publishing company.
So my publishing company was really founded because I had so many clients who were telling me they were going to write a book and then they never did. And so I began to see what about the publishing industry was frustrating or difficult. And so I just created different solutions, and I started making it easier. And once we produced our first 6 books in about a 9-month period, I realized I was really onto something, and that many people were hungry to tell their story. And this is one of my biggest hangups with traditional publishing, is that they say no to so many people, and they say no to women 8 times more than they do men. And so my whole thing is the story is so powerful, right? Our words literally create our world. And so if there are people who are hungry to share their story and there are roadblocks to that, I couldn't look away. I had to do something about it. And so that's why we started what we did. And it naturally evolved. I had a client who was in several of my books and always by my side. And she was asking me, okay, how do you do this? And what would this look like? And so I said, well, if I taught women how to start their own publishing house, would you like to learn? And she said, I'm first in line, sign me up. And so it started with me teaching the first 8 women, and then they all produced a book, and they all, created success, and they all found authors. And so then I just kept doing it and kept expanding it. And really for me, what's at the heart of every bit of it is that desire to encourage people to share their truth, to share their journey, to share their story, because what we don't memorialize, it becomes myth. And we have all lived incredible lives. We all have something to pass on to the next generation. And so I am standing here saying, please offer your wisdom, offer your gift, offer your words to the next generation, so that when you're gone and they look back, they have something. I'm sitting in my grandma's house. I'm at her desk right now, and I have a couple of her journals where she took notes about her day, and she even had notes about me. And it is the most valuable thing I have. And so that is why I love what I do, because this is the art of storytelling. I call it sacred storytelling. It's taking wisdom from the past and the future and bringing it into the present moment. And this is something that has been with us forever, whether it was around the campfire or around a meal. And so my wish is that people would slow down and put it into words so that it can live on forever.
Absolutely. Right. And like they say, share your flowers now. Don't wait till they're gone. Give them the opportunity to do it now. And then there is that future so that they can continue to move that legacy forward. And you're absolutely right. There's not enough people truly telling their stories and talking about their journey. And I think, even me as an author, having that opportunity to sit down and write. And I wrote one day just basically out of frustration. And then the next thing I know, I'm like, oh, I've just wrote 3 books, so you don't realize what you're doing until you're doing, but your voice has so much power and so much value. And that's exactly, what I try to instill with people. And I tell them, if you don't even want to write, do a podcast. This is your opportunity to share your life, because you never know who you're going to touch. There's always somebody who's been through what you've been through, even though it may be a little bit different, but there's that relationship that they can build on, and they don't feel as they are that outsider. So you're, what you're doing is phenomenal, and I applaud you. And I just love talking to you, Adriana. I can be talking to you all night. This has just been a fantastic conversation, because you are really truly living in your truth and teaching other people how to do that. I think that's the most important thing you could absolutely bring to anybody. Even if they didn't make $1, just giving them that opportunity to understand who they are. This is what this is about. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. And I feel the same way. It's so great when you can have a conversation like this, because it's like, yes, there are people who get it.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Absolutely. You're very welcome. So we are getting close to the end of the show, but I definitely would like for you to tell the listeners how they can get a hold of you if they want to learn how to either write their own book or start their own publishing company, or just have that great conversation with you, because you are just, you're mind blowing, and you really can open up people's minds in the way that they need to open. So please share that information with everybody.
Absolutely. They can reach out at amaspeaks.com. That's amaspeaks.com. And there's information about my book and starting a publishing house. And also, I want to throw this out. I'm starting a new thing where I take people through a 3-week bold experience of igniting their dream, whatever that might be. And so you can find out more information there as well.
Awesome. That sounds interesting. All right. So like I said, I hope all the listeners are listening and they heard this amazing conversation. Again, Adriana, thank you so much for coming on and spending a little bit of time with me, because it has been absolutely profound, and I'm just so forward looking for everybody to hear this. And if you missed this, go back and re-listen over and over and over until you get it, because we dropped some golden nuggets tonight. We definitely dropped some. So, and of course, before we close tonight's show, I hope that you all learned something about what it means to be in a highly profitable publishing company. But I think the bigger lesson that we got out of this is, how intentional are you going to be with yourself? How are you going to bring the truth out about who you are and what you really want to do and what your journey should be like? And if you want to have that conversation, please reach out to me at Kimberly@WSBILC@gmail.com. Let's have that chat so we can talk about your dreams. Turn those dreams not into just goals, but intentional. It's things that are going to be intentionally good for you, and not always just based on the dollar, like we said in this conversation. And of course, if you want more of your resource for success, you can donate to support the podcast anytime. We have a Cash App available, which will provide that information during the show, after the show as well. And then, of course, you can also go to www.WSBILC.com, which is the website, and you can learn more about what we do here at the Women's Small Business Initiative. And again, I would like to thank you all for listening to us tonight. We'll be back next week with more amazing guests. Be sure to follow us on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts. But until then, you enjoy the rest of your evening, and good night.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Hey, it is Ryan Seacrest. There's something so thrilling about playing Chumba Casino. Maybe it's the simple reminder that with a little luck, anything is possible. ChumbaCasino.com has hundreds of social casino-style games to choose from with new game releases each week. Play for free anytime, anywhere for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
People are driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search. Match with Indeed. The hiring process can be slow and overwhelming. Simplify hiring with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform. With over 350 million global monthly visitors according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. That's Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Terms and conditions apply.